Good morning. There we go. Good morning, everybody. Going to open up the today's executive session. Welcome back to everybody. We have a new member of our committee. Representative Frack joins us. Laura will say a couple words in a few minutes. We also have a substitution, Mary Hocken Phillips. Did I say that right?
It's actually Hacken Phillips, and
Hacken Phillips.
the best way to remember Hacken is to think of a computer hack.
Got it.
So
Very good.
I hope that helps.
So Mary Hacken Phillips joins us today. Representative Stavis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm very pleased that Representative Hacken Phillips is able to join us today, and delighted that Representative Fract is here for the first time. He won a special election in Enfield back in August, I believe, and he is one of the newest members of the House in the Democratic caucus. So please help me in welcome Representative Fract to our committee.
Okay, we have 6 retained bills that we're going to go through today, hopefully. The first one, we're going to open up a hearing on executive session on House, whoop. Yes. Representative McDonald. Getting a little ahead of myself. Representative McDonald, will you call the roll, please?
Present.
Guthrie? Thank you. The clerk is here with Representative LaSalle.
Here.
Representative Buchella.
Present.
Representative Kelly. Representative Allwood.
Present.
Representative Brown.
Here.
Representative Cahill.
Here.
Representative Stavis.
Here.
Representative Tatro.
Here.
Representative Trey Levin.
Here.
Representative Gilman.
Here.
Representative Majori.
Here.
Representative Gallagher.
Here.
Representative Hacken Phillips.
Here.
Representative Howland.
Here.
Representative Priest.
Here.
And Representative Fratch.
Here.
And Mr. Chairman.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will open up the executive session on House Bill 70 and recognize Vice Chairman Power.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I would like to offer Amendment 2023-0071H to
Thank you.
House Bill 70.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Representative McDonald seconds that. And would you like to speak to your amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this amendment is the same amendment that was offered previously in our executive session for this bill. This bill clarifies that the deputy town clerk must be a resident of the municipality. And additionally, the strikeouts put both sections 41:18 and 669:65 in concert with each other, further clarifying the statute. So the reason that the town clerk, the deputy town clerk, should be a resident is that it's very clear that the deputy town clerk shall be qualified in the same manner as the town clerk, and the town clerk must be a resident. So we heard during the hearing, the Secretary of State testified that both the town clerk and the deputy, they must be residents due to privacy issues. They're responsible for record keeping, vital records, births, deaths, marriages, adoptions. They're also responsible for matters related to registrations and licensing. And additionally, they're involved with elections. So they made it, the Secretary of State made it very clear that both positions must be residences, that they must have their residence in the town. New Hampshire Municipal Association also supported the amendment to clarify the statute. So if there's no, if the, and then the important thing is that if the clerk is unable to perform the duties for various reasons, that the deputy is to fill in. And the big problem with the bill, the big problem is if the deputy needed to become the clerk, they would not be able to participate and run the elections. So this amendment is important. It clarifies that the deputy be a resident.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. Oh, sorry. Didn't see you down there. Go, Representative Tatro, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since the town clerks are elected, the deputy town clerk still can be appointed by the selectmen. And how do you get around that part of it? Because the requirement is that they, in a state constitution, that town clerks be elected, and it does, from what I've read, the selectmen can appoint till the next election, but then the next election person would have to be elected. So how do we get around that?
Is there any other comments from the floor? Representative Gallagher?
So, this bill was originally a bill by Representative Adjutant. I'm wondering who is no longer with us and whose seat Representative Fract is now filling. I'm wondering, did you discuss this amendment with the original sponsor? And if so, what did he have to say about it?
Representative Stavis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the question. Yes, I discussed the question with the clerk, the House clerk, and he informed me that even if the member was no longer a member of the House, that the bill needed to be disposed of by this committee, but that the prime sponsor was no longer here, therefore there was no need to consult with the prime sponsor.
Well, I mean, maybe not. Or may I
If you would,
follow up?
you need to be recognized, Representative.
Yeah, may I follow up?
Representative Gallagher.
All right. So even if there isn't a technical need to consult with him, I was just wondering, more out of just a general courtesy to the former representative. I mean, if I left the legislature and someone took up one of my bills for me after I left, I would want to be consulted about it, regardless of whether it was necessary or not.
Thank you, Representative. Any other comments before we call a vote on this? Seeing none, Representative McDonald, would you call a roll call, please?
Okay, this is to adopt amendment 2023-00718H. Vice Chairman Power,
Yes.
Representative Guthrie. Clerk votes yes. Representative LaSalle's,
Yes.
Representative Keller,
Yes.
Representative Kelly,
Yes.
Representative Allwood,
Yes.
Representative Brown,
Yes.
Representative Cahill,
Yes.
Representative Davis,
Yes.
Representative Tetro,
No.
Representative Chair Levin,
Yes.
Representative Gilman,
Yes.
Representative Majori,
Yes.
Representative Hacken Phillips,
Yes.
Representative Howland,
Yes.
Representative Priest,
Yes.
Representative Frank,
Yes.
and Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Motion passes 19-1.
Do we have a further motion, Representative Power?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move ought to pass as amended on House Bill 70.
And second by Representative Priest. Change that one. Further discussion on HB 70 as amended. Representative Priest. Thank you. Any further discussions? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Okay, HB 70 OTPA, Vice Chairman Power,
Yes.
Representative Guthrie. Clerk votes yes. Representative LaSalle's,
Yes.
Representative Keller,
Yes.
Representative Kelly,
Yes.
Representative Allwood,
Yes.
Representative Brown,
Yes.
Representative Cahill,
Yes.
Representative Davis,
Yes.
Representative Tetro,
No.
Representative Chair Levin,
Yes.
Representative Gilman,
Yes.
Representative Majori,
Yes.
Representative Gallagher,
Yes.
Representative Hacken Phillips,
Yes.
Representative Howland,
Yes.
Representative Priest,
Yes.
Representative Fratch,
Yes.
and Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Motion passes 19-1.
Thank you. Without objection, this will go on the consent calendar. Is there any objection to that? Representative Gallagher, you objection?
Well, just a minor clerical note. I believe I was skipped on the roll call for the amendment on it. I mean, it sounded like you recorded me as yes, which is how I would have voted anyways, but I just wanted to make sure that you had your notes correct there before.
Thank you for the
Submitting it.
clarification.
Yes, I do have him as a yes on the adopt the amendment.
So you're okay with that, Representative Gallagher?
Yes, just making sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Representative Power will be writing the committee report. Thank you. That closes the executive session on HB 70. And we will roll right into the executive session for HB 202. And do we have a motion from Representative Power?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move ought to pass on House Bill 202.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Yes, I second the motion.
We're going to, Representative Stavis makes the second on HB 202. Representative Power, would you like to speak to your amendment, motion?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The House Bill 202, this came out of a commission from a bill in 2022. It was House Bill 411. So the commission was tasked with two things. First, to study the equalization rate used for the calculation of property tax abatement, and also to establish a method to equalize market values for the purpose of calculating property tax abatements. So the problem is that there's an inequity because two different equalization rates are currently being used. They are a year apart. One is used for tax assessment purposes, and the other one is used for tax appeal purposes. So this committee was charged to establish a method to eliminate this inequity, and which they did. So this House Bill 202 represents a much needed solution, and this is for these brief reasons. I could say more. This bill should be ought to pass.
Thank you, Representative. Any further comments? Seeing none, we'll ask the clerk, once he is ready, to call the roll on the motion of OTP on House Bill 202.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. OTP HB 202. Representative Power.
Yes.
Representative Guthrie. Clerk votes yes. Representative Salas.
Yes.
Representative Keller.
No.
Representative Kelly.
Yes.
Representative Allwood.
Yes.
Representative Brown.
Yes.
Representative Cahill.
Yes.
Representative Stavis.
Yes.
Representative Tetro.
Yes.
Representative Trey Levin. Representative Gilman.
Yes.
Representative Majori.
Yes.
Representative Gallagher.
Yes.
Representative Hacken Phillips.
Yes.
Representative Howland.
Yes.
Representative Priest.
Yes.
Representative Prack.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
motion passes 18-1.
18-1 and one absent, is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Representative Power, I assume you will write the committee report for that. And again,
Yes.
without objection, it'll go on the consent calendar. Seeing no objection, we'll do that, and that will close the executive session on HB 202. And with that, we'll open up the executive session on HB 270 relative to the election of Stratford County Commissioners. I'm going to make the motion on this one to ITL. Representative Power, would you like a second?
Yes, I second it.
Thank you. And I'll speak briefly to it. As everybody knows, the contents of HB 270 were moved into HB 75 and went from the Senate to the House of Representatives and then over to the governor, which he signed. So there's no need for HB 270. So is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Okay, ITL HB 270, Representative, Vice Chairman Power, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Representative Guthrie. Clerk votes yes. Representative Salas.
Yes.
Representative Joe Keller.
Yes.
Representative Kelly.
Yes.
Representative Allwood.
Yes.
Representative Brown.
Yes.
Representative Cahill.
Yes.
Representative Stavis.
Yes.
Representative Tetro.
Yes.
Representative Trey Levin.
Yes.
Representative Gilman.
Yes.
Representative Majori.
Yes.
Representative Gallagher.
Yes.
Representative Hacken Phillips.
Yes.
Representative Howland.
Yes.
Representative Priest.
Yes.
Representative Fratch.
Yes.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
passes 20-0.
Thank you. I'll write the committee report on that, and again, without objection, it'll go on the consent calendar. Any objections? I see none. It'll be on the consent calendar. That closes the executive session on HB 270. Next up, we'll open up exec session on HB 313 relative to the reductions of the default budget for official ballot town meetings, and I'm going to recognize Representative Yokella with an possible amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move Amendment 2023-2315H.
Thank you. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Representative McDonald seconds, 2315H, you said?
Yeah.
Thank you, Representative.
Thank you.
Would you like to speak to your amendment?
I would,
Representative
thank you.
Gilmore?
I would, thanks. I guess beginning history on this was that we retained this bill because of some kind of confusion, I guess, with the language in the original bill regarding turnover. And really the issue that I'm trying to solve is when the facts on the ground in the community are being served by a particular person, and they're currently working in the job, that the default would reflect their actual pay. It was brought to my attention that if someone, let's say, was currently working in a position providing the services to the town, for example, $100,000, and then they left and a new person was hired and working in the job, maybe not as senior, for only $70,000 or $75,000, the default budget for that following year, that first year of that new person's employ, the default budget would be $100,000, even though the budget being asked for is actually only 70 or 75 to reflect the person's actual pay that's getting in that position. That didn't seem right. And then also I was talking to Representative Maggiore about this issue, and it actually comes up also when you hire for, or you're proposing an absolutely new position, let's say for $100,000, because you don't know what the person will actually be hired at. You just put some placeholder number in the budget so that the voters have an opportunity to approve that position. And then let's say that the voters do approve that position at the $100,000, but then you go and hire someone and actually it's only $80,000 for the person that is hired, and they're working on the job. That next year's budget, they would be proposing an $80,000 to fulfill that role with the person that's currently working there. However, the default budget would still be the $100,000, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so my attempt with this amendment is to essentially achieve that that those people that got hired at that potentially lower rate would be that the default budget would reflect that. And so the language that I put in to clarify that is that the default budget would be reflecting the actual salary and benefits of filled positions. Therefore, if the position was not filled, let's say someone just left, that you wouldn't want to adjust that that amount because you still need to have that money available to be able to hire someone. And so only for filled positions, at the time of the public hearing, you would have the default budget reflect those positions' salary and benefits, and then also excluding any raises or anything that you did in mid-year since the last time you had a budget passed for that. So if the selectmen for some reason decided, mid-year that they're going to give the town administrator a 5% raise or something mid-year that wasn't approved by the budget by the voters, then that wouldn't be part of the default budget. It would just be the pay the last time, and then they can propose that raise in the new budget. There's also on line 7 language that is the difference between the two amendments. That language is just the adding of by law to this phrase, and other obligations previously incurred or mandated by law. So it would read, and other obligations previously incurred by law or mandated by law. This I don't have super strong feelings about, but there was some concern with the that some towns are essentially interpreting this phrase to say other obligations previously incurred, and then being able to put something in the budget even if it's not required that it is incurred. Let's say the selectmen decide that they're going to buy a new backhoe and they agree to buy the new backhoe. Is that an obligation that was previously incurred by the selectmen, right? And they, in my reading of the language, technically that would defeat the whole purpose of a default budget. And I don't think that the courts would actually allow such a thing to happen. But the person that raised it to me thought that this language would clarify it without them having to sue the town for their interpretation of this other obligations previously incurred. So if the so that's why I'm proposing it to this committee. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative Yackello. Representative Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Riccella, for that very long and detailed explanation of your amendment. However, it does nothing to address the basic fact that our current governor has said that governance works best at the local level, and this amendment and this bill does nothing but extend the heavy hand of Concord into the individual deliberations and budget approval processes of towns and cities across the state, assuming that they're all buying somehow illegal backhoes that their citizens do not know about. The fact of the matter is that a budget is proposed and the voters approve that budget. So by the legislature interfering with that after the fact, we would actually be negating the will of the voters. And I find that a very frightening prospect. And for that reason, I will be opposing this amendment and opposing the bill. Thank you.
Representative Lascelles.
Well, I would take issue with my esteemed colleague's definition there. The problem we face is if the will of the voters is to turn down a budget that they feel is excessive, then the provisions of, I believe it's SB 2, provides for a default budget, which is a fallback position to allow for the town or the school district to continue their good work, even though the voters have disagreed with the proposed budget and have turned it down. So the default budget is, my interpretation, is a fallback position to allow for the business to continue. Now, what we're facing is that towns and school districts are manipulating the rules on the default budget so that in many cases, the default budget, rather than being a fallback budget, is actually higher than the proposed budget. So my question is, if the voters turn down the proposed budget because they feel it is excessive, but the default budget is more than the proposed budget. How is that the will of the people?
Thank you. Further comments, Representative Gallagher?
Or actually, just this is a clarification question. So I was noticing we have two separate amendments from Representative Yokela here for HB 313. Could we just be reminded here?
2015.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the first one then. All right. Got it.
Further comments? Representative Power?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I support this amendment, and I will just make two brief comments. With regards to on line 7 by law, that those words incurred by law, it points to something that's optional. That if this obligation exists, it's following a law with it's following law with regards to a contract, etc. And the also on line 7 where it says or mandated by law, that's a mandate. That's something that says this you must have this. So I support this particular amendment over 2316. And my second comment would be with regards to, the main idea and purpose of this amendment is that it speaks to and it has to do with default budgets. And in my mind, it gives clear guidance procedurally with regards to these default budgets. And it makes complete sense, as my prior colleagues have explained who do support this amendment. I don't see that it overrides the will of the people. And I believe that the issue is that some subdivisions are not dealing with the default budget properly, and that just gives guidance that these things shall be considered and when calculating the default budget. So for those reasons, I support this amendment.
Representative Majori?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I I want to extend my thanks to Representative Kella for reaching out. We did have a good conversation about this, and I absolutely understand where you're coming from. And actually, when I look at the language that says by law, I do reflect on, and those of us who are members of select boards and budget committees in this room, and I think a lot of us are probably going through the process right now of setting your budgets for those SB2 towns. And if there were some instance where the select board were to have proposed a raise for some non-contractual position in town, I could see where that raise would not be allowed to go into default. And I would think that that might happen. And I could see where if this says by law that this would prevent that. And I think that that's a good idea. However, and with all due respect to my friend, I can't support the amendment because, or the amendment, because in long conversations with my finance director, he said, and I'll use a specific example, we have a position in town that is posted for $110,000. If we were to hire that position at, say, 6 months in and only pay $55,000, he would have to default the actual salary and benefits because that's what it says. Now, I think I know what you mean, but he would only be able to default what was paid, rather than what was budgeted for and defaulted. The next year, it would autocorrect to whatever was actually paid. But in this instance, we'd be losing half of the salary that was available, and any delta in that salary, if there was any, would fall to the fund balance, which then could be used to offset taxes or other reasons why the select board or the other reasons why the select board could use it. So in those lengthy conversations I had with my finance director, he saw several problems with that language, although I see where you're going. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Cahill, did you still have a comment?
They're all pointing at me, Representative.
Representative Trelevin.
Default budgets make me crazy. Let me
The
just tell
the
you
member
that.
will suspend.
Of course.
We've had a conversation multiple times in this committee on how I go about recognizing individuals. I guess we need to have it again. What I do is I look around the room, and I saw your hand before, Representative Trelevin, but I go from Democrat to Republican to Democrat to Republican. You were next as a Democrat after Representative Majority. I looked over to my right because Representative Cahill had his hand raised. He decided not to speak, so then I recognized you. Now, Representative Trelevin, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The configuration of our room makes anybody sitting in your chair challenged in seeing those of us on your corners. So, you know, we'll be sure that you notice us. And I know that you do. Default budgets make me crazy. I'm just going to lay that right out there. And I do my best to understand them as a member of this committee and a member of the public. And I think I've gotten to a better understanding. My issue with this amendment is I have heard several people, my colleagues on this committee, explain that it's their interpretation, or they ascribe motives to voters, or they say, in my mind. These are notes from when you were speaking. And as far as I'm concerned, any amendment or bill that is continuing to be open to your interpretation that you need to explain to me before we even voted into law, I can't imagine what will happen if we voted into law. So I'm sorry, I can't support this. It's not clear. Thank you.
Representative Ukella, did you have something else?
Thank you. Thank you. I think that the interpretation that the language actual salary and benefits for filled position means that the actual amount paid in the prior period is not reading the plain language of the bill. If the person, let's say in my example before, was getting paid $100,000 and they left, and for in December, and the new person is hired in January and they've only been working for 3 months, then in that situation, the number would actually not be reflecting that new person's salary and benefit with that interpretation, right? It would be saying, okay, 80% of the year we paid $100,000 a year for this position, and 20% of the year we paid 75%. And so then we're going to add up all of those actual payments, and that's going to be the default budget. I don't believe that is the plain language of reflecting the actual salary and benefits of the filled positions. Those people agreed and signed, an employment contract or whatever. They agreed to be paid the $75,000 or whatever. And I believe that the language in this amendment would allow for that agreed payment for their actual salaries to continue. I don't believe that if you let's say in the example of a first-time employee, you budgeted at $100,000, but you only hired them 2 days beforehand, before the public hearing, that you're going to only be able to put a default budget of 2 days of pay. That I believe that is not reflecting the actual salary and benefits of the person in the position, right? And so that it doesn't say the actual reflecting the actual salary and benefits of paid for that position, right? It's the actual salary and benefits of that position. And so I just disagree with that person's interpretation. And so I think that the plain language of the bill supports my conclusion. So, thank you.
Representative Howland.
So at the risk of stating the obvious, you don't want to use your default budget. The whole reason that the budget process is so long and hopefully transparent is because you actually want to pass your budget. And doing things like padding the default budget only adds distrust, which undermines the whole process of trying to pass your budget. So most municipalities I know would never do that. The whole idea is you're trying to convince your community that this is a good idea, that it's fiscally responsible, both short-term and long-term. So when I look at this, I agree with what Representative Maggiore said. The term "actual" is the problem, because an example that we had, we wanted to replace a Parks and Rec director. Any one of your management positions at the municipal level, especially in this hiring climate, is going to take multiple months to hire. So it's unlikely that the actual salary that you did that would be budgeted or that was actually paid out would be the same as what you did there. The second thing is, to Representative Stavis's point, municipalities already have the opportunity. If you have that $100,000 position and you only fill it with an $80,000 position, the unused money then goes into your fund balance, which then allows the municipality the flexibility to then give it back to the voters to reduce the tax rate. What this really does is make a really difficult situation. Any community that is going into default budget is in crisis. All of their long-term planning, which may be road construction, infrastructure, equipment, is all thrown off. And meanwhile, inflation is going along, so those items are getting more expensive. And so there's a disconnect that's occurring between your community and your governing body. And so the real thing that goes forward is not just the focus on the default budget, but actually fixing your budget process so that you can actually pass a budget. And so this really makes a challenging situation more challenging. It takes away the flexibility of the community by stripping their ability to use those funds in a way that is best for the community. So I do not support this. I do not think it's a good idea.
Representative LaSalle.
I would just like to address Representative Howland's statement concerning the need for the operating budget and for the community to be in line with the governing body, so that the budget is well known and transparent by the community, so that they can pass it. Now, my question is, if we have a community that says spending is too high, whatever you're doing, there's too much money going in the budget, and they make the decision that as a community that we want to spend less in the form of for the government. Well, what do? If they vote down the budget, but the default budget is more than the proposed budget, then we just keep going and going and going. And the will of the community to cut spending is thwarted.
Representative Howland again.
So to that point, that's why you have elections. So obviously, if the municipal body is not following the will of the people, they would not be elected again. So they do have a choice. I mean, it would be the subsequent budget. Okay, if your budget fails and you go into default, when you're proposing your next budget, if you're sane, you're not going to come with a padded budget. You're going to try to cut the budget. So in the subsequent budget that was proposed, I would assume it would be a much lower budget, and then the voters would vote on the much lower budget, and that would solve your problem. So there are safeguards in place to allow those things to be addressed.
Further comments or questions on the amendment? Representative Gilman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also have problems with I think, follow up on Representative Howland's comments. Currently, this is a unique time in over several years, but it's not the only time that there has been a recession or constraints on how much we can spend because of empty positions that we cannot fill for a substantial period of time. And I will give you an example. We have 3 department heads, and they've been vacant for 6 months, and it's because we cannot afford to pay what the going rate is for somebody of that skill level. And if we adopt this, we will never be able to fill those positions because they will be stagnant at the level that we have right now. And so I can't support this because it will make it difficult for the operations of a town.
Representative Yocella.
Thank you. I guess reiterating the language of the bill, it actually has no effect on vacant positions. And if the proposed new budget for, let's say, a vacant position was inadequate, the budget committee could propose a higher line item for that position, even though it was vacant. There's nothing in this that would stop that. And actually, if the position was not filled, then it would stay the same amount that it was approved by the voters the prior time. But it seems like there is some concern, I guess, that the municipality is not able to is going to have trouble dealing with the default budget that the town voters decided to give them. And I think that is the town voters have no recourse for affecting the default budget. They can go to the town deliberative session. They could amend the proposed budget to whatever they choose, as long as it's within the I think it's 10%. But they have no recourse for what the amount is of the default budget. They cannot make a motion to change the default budget at deliberative session. And so what is in the default budget is what is already mandated by law. We aren't putting additional burdens on the municipality by saying this is what is to be in the default budget. We already mandate that. That is the section of law that we are currently addressing. It's already required by law that this and not that is in the default budget. And the lack of clarity between municipalities, for example, if someone, as someone that is on a budget committee, would agree with the fact if the selectmen decided to give a raise mid-year that was outside of the budget budgeting process after the budget was passed, and they transferred that from another line so that they could give someone a raise, that is not part of the default budget and should not be part of the default budget. If it is being interpreted by some municipalities that that raise that they give mid-year is an obligation, based on their reading of this, then I think that there needs to be clarity for that, because that is not the purpose of default budgets. The default budget is to essentially, like my colleagues said, is that the functions of the government that the town have previously approved can continue. And with the language that I am proposing, that position that is fulfilling that function of government at X dollars can continue at X dollars, not at an increased dollar amount that is not appropriate for fulfilling that function anymore. Because of the situations on the ground have changed, and that position is now being served by a person making that new amount. And so I think that reflecting of that in the default budget is appropriate. So thank you.
Further comments? Did you have comment, Representative Tatro? No? You were looking at me.
I'm sorry.
Do you?
Yes,
Okay.
I don't know if you can do this in committee, but it seems though we've heard the same ping pong match here for quite a while, and nobody's changed anybody else's mind. So I would request.
No request needed. I was getting ready to do what you're going to ask, so. So seeing no further comments on the amendment, we'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
HB 313, adopt amendment 2023-2315H. Vice Chairman Power,
Yes.
Representative Guthrie. Clerk votes yes. Representative Salas,
Yes.
Representative Yokella,
Yes.
Representative Kelly,
Yes.
Representative Allward,
Yes.
Representative Brown,
Yes.
Representative Cahill,
Yes.
Representative Davis,
No.
Representative Tatro,
No.
Representative Chair Levin,
No.
Representative Gilman,
No.
Representative Majori,
No.
Representative Gallagher,
No.
Representative Hacken Phillips,
No.
Representative Howland,
No.
Representative Priest,
No.
Representative Fratch,
No.
and Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Motion fails 9-11.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Do we have another motion on the underlying bill of HB 313? Representative Yokella? No? I saw Representative Majori's hand up first. Representative Majori.
With all due respect to my friend and with the intention, I still would move ITL on HB 313.
Thank you. Representative Davis, I see your hand up for a second. Is there further discussion on the underlying bill? Seeing none, we will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Representative Power,
No.
Representative Guthrie. Clerk votes no. Representative Salas,
No.
Representative Yokella,
No.
Representative Kelly,
No.
Representative Allward,
No. No.
Representative Brown,
No.
Representative Cahill,
No.
Representative Davis,
Yes.
Representative Tatro,
Yes.
Representative Chair Levin,
Yes.
Representative Gilman,
Yes.
Representative Majori,
Yes.
Representative Gallagher,
Yes.
Representative Hacken Phillips,
Yes.
Representative Howland,
Yes.
Representative Priest,
Yes.
Representative Fratch,
Yes.
and Mr. Chairman.
No.
ITL passes 11-9.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. So this will go on the regular, excuse me, the regular calendar for the committee report, Representative Majori. And we will, Representative Yokella.
Yeah, the minority motion would be ought to pass as amended, the amendment. Yeah,
We can talk about that.
yeah.
We'll talk about it after,
It's,
but we'll
It's a
have you.
valid motion.
We'll have you write that. Okay. So that closes the executive session on HB 313. Representative Majority?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. No, my only question is then, does my report reflect just the underlying bill?
ITL, just the bill.
Just the bill. Okay,
Correct.
all right, thanks.
Okay. Next, hopefully this will be a nice quick one. HB 433, providing property tax exemptions granted prior to a home sale shall not be applied to new owner. Open up the executive session on that. Look for a motion from Representative Cahill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to ITL HB 433 FN. The prime sponsor asked us to do this.
We need a second before you can speak to it. Representative McDonald, seconds. Now, Representative Cahill, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, the prime sponsor asked us to ITL the bill, so we're following her request.
Thank you, Ms. Representative Cahill. Any comments, questions? Representative Trelevin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Cahill, any explanation as to why the sponsor wanted it to be ITL'd?
No, ma'am.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
HB 433 FN, ITL. Vice Chairman Power,
Yes.
Representative Guthrie. Clerk votes yes. Representative Salas,
Yes.
Representative Ukella,
Yes.
Representative Kelly,
Yes.
Representative Allwood,
Yes.
Representative Brown,
Yes.
Representative Cahill,
Yes.
Representative Davis,
Yes.
Representative Tatro,
Yes.
Representative Trelevin,
Yes.
Representative Gilman,
Yes.
Representative Majority,
Yes.
Representative Gallagher,
Yes.
Representative Hacken Phillips,
Yes.
Representative Howland,
Yes.
Representative Priest,
Yes.
Representative Fratch,
Yes.
and Chairman Turcott.
Yes.
Motion passes 20-0.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Representative Cahill will write the committee report, and unless there's any objections, it'll go on the consent calendar. Without objections, so be it. That closes the executive session on HB 433 FN. Okay, looks like we have one more to go. Open up the executive session on HB 526 FN. And the chairman will offer an amendment. 2023-2311H. Do we have a second on that?
I'd like to second that.
Representative Cahill seconds that amendment. I'll speak to it briefly. A few weeks back, several interested parties contacted and suggested some new language. That language was discussed back and forth several times, and after multiple edits, it came to what you see before you now in 2311H. Basically, what this does, it's a small bit of an enabling, but it's also meant as clarification language. Much like another bill that I'm sponsoring this year, where the attorney for the commission says something is allowed, but then the individuals going around inspecting or say it's not allowed. That bill will be a clarification bill, and I believe as written, this gets the point across that Representative Bickford, the original sponsor, was attempting to do. Basically, what it will do is allow municipalities to use pretty much what they would like, as long as it's on their Class 4 and Class 5 highways. They can still use uniformed police officers if they want. They can use flaggers if they would like. Again, it only applies to municipalities and their Class 4 and 5 highways. Further discussions? Representative Guthrie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What would happen to communities that don't allow flaggers, that they have determined that any any need for this kind of service would be provided by police officers.
If that's a question to me, basically what this amendment does is it gives the municipality the ability to do pretty much as they see fit. Does that answer your question?
Yes, well, I think it does, Mr. Chairman, but every time I see a shall on a local bill, it really concerns me. I don't see why the towns can't do this without the bill, and I don't know what the need for it is if it isn't. I read this as if there's work being done on a street, and it's not a heavy trafficked street, but they want, particularly if it's a utility, they want somebody there. We in our town at least would provide a police officer.
And under this
We don't
bill-
allow flaggers in our town.
And under this amended and the bill, as I said, this is an enabling and clarifying bill. It would allow your municipality to continue using police officers. So if you choose, it would allow the use of flaggers under certain situations. If you choose, on line 9, you'll see it says the use of uniformed police officers shall. That's the only shall in this bill. Everywhere else, there's a may and there's a should, which are less restrictive. The shall is only required when the municipality has determined, and it goes on to list several issues. So basically, it's saying under these certain circumstances, you shall use them, but the decision is up to the municipality ultimately.
I don't read it that way, Mr. Chairman, but thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Further question, Representative Majority.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just for clarity for me, if the municipality was challenged, their determination, do you see where it has to be a formal written determination that's sent to DOT, or is this the select board determined that according to we need a police officer, or the highway department determined that due to these reasons, and just have something written?
I see no requirement in there for that. I would think that a municipality would have some sort of written process or whatever that they would use to determine that. This does not mandate that, but I would assume any municipality would do that. Representative Gallagher.
So I'm comparing the amendment against the original language. And so I personally do not see the amendment as an improvement over the original. I think the original wording was better. I'm someone who's concerned about police brutality, and I think the original wording does a better job of restricting the use of police as flaggers. And a lot of times when there are instances of police brutality, it's from traffic stops, which comes from cases like when they're being used as flaggers. So for that purpose, I'd oppose the amendment but support the underlying bill without it, though.
Further comments? I have one more that I forgot to bring up. This was a subject in 2015 of a Senate Bill 234 that established a commission to actually look, a study committee, not a commission, to look at exactly this issue. And I just want to read you the final recommendation. It says the committee recommends the bringing forward of legislation that would give authority to the municipal governing body to adopt ordinances regarding the use of flaggers or police details relative to temporary traffic control. the legislation would limit the use of police to only when specific safety concerns occur or if qualified flaggers are not available. So I believe the amendment does exactly what that study committee was looking for. But further comments, questions? Seeing none, we'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. HB 526 FN, Amendment 2023-2311H. Vice Chairman Power.
Did you say the motion ought to pass?
Amend.
Oh, okay. Yes.
My apologies, Vice Chairman. Representative Guthrie. Clerk votes no. Representative Salas.
Yes.
Representative Yukela.
Yes.
Representative Kelly.
Yes.
Representative Alwood.
No.
Representative Brown.
Yes.
Representative Cahill.
Yes.
Representative Stavis.
Yes.
Representative Tatro.
Yes.
Representative Trey Levin.
Yes.
Representative Gilman.
Yes.
Representative Majori.
Yes.
Representative Gallagher.
No.
Representative Hacken Phillips.
Yes.
Representative Howland.
Yes.
Representative Priest.
Yes.
Representative Fratch. Okay. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
motion passes to amend 15-4.
One absence. Okay, since the amendment passed, I'll go ahead and I'll make the motion about HB 526 OTP as amended. Do I have a second on that, Representative Cahill?
Yes, I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you. Further comments? Seeing none, we'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Vice Chairman Power.
Yes.
Representative Guthrie. Clerk votes yes. Representative Salas.
Yes.
Representative Yukela.
Yes.
Representative Kelly.
Yes.
Representative Arwood.
Yes.
Representative Brown.
Yes.
Representative Cahill.
Yes.
Representative Stavis.
Yes.
Representative Tatro.
Yes.
Representative Trey Levin.
Yes.
Representative Gilman.
Yes.
Representative Majori.
Yes.
Representative Gallagher.
Could you just remind me what the motion is again?
OTP as amended.
Okay, yes.
Representative Hacken Phillips.
Yes.
Representative Hicks. I'm sorry, my apologies. Representative Howland.
Yes.
Representative Priest.
Yes.
Representative Fratch. No, okay. And Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
motion passes 18-1, 17-1? 18-1, I'm sorry.
Are you, I'm not questioning the clerk's tallying, but Representative Guthrie, you were a no? Were there any other no's? There were no other no's? Oh, okay. Very good. 18-1. Very good. All right, then, without objection, that'll go on the consent calendar, and Representative Turcott will write the committee report. That closes HB 526, executive session. I'm sorry, Mr. Clerk, I thought I heard more no's. Just wanted to make sure. All right, does anybody else have anything for today? Seeing nothing, I guess we'll see everybody on January 3rd. No? Oh, veto day. All right, very good. Next Thursday, we'll see everybody. Okay, that closes the executive session. Thanks, everybody.
You be with me, my friend,
Which one?
on the last one.
I was with you.
No, on the amendment. You went along with the amendment.
I what?
You went along with the amendment to get it amended. I thought, sure. I said, Jesus. When it gets a brownie point with my friend Jim and nothing.
Wait, you voted for it too?
I voted against the amendment.
You did? Oh. No. We didn't care. We were like, I don't know.
Oh, I know. I didn't. No big deal to me.